then let's say you move from none of them qualifying to one of them qualifying, all of a sudden you go from zero penalty to $40,000 or more in annual penalties just because one person has flipped over into the subsidized range. Now, if you do offer qualifying coverage and your first employee jumps and gets a subsidy, you're now going to owe a $3,000 penalty for that employee. A second employee gets a subsidy, then you're now going to owe $6,000, so $3,000 times the 2. And so on until the point that first formula, the $2,000 formula, is less than the $3,000 formula, in which case, at that point, which means if you've got a whole bunch of subsidized employees, then you're better off just saying, well, let's just penalize me as if I didn't offer coverage at all. So, again, we have these, if you go to the crib sheets, that we have one called Employer Mandate Calculations that explains all of that in detail, and again explains it in a way that's pretty easy to comprehend. But that's it. So 3,000 is times the number of subsidized employees. 2,000 is times the number of total employees minus 30.
Great. And do remind everyone that we have up on the screen those valuable resources, which include link to the NFIB healthcare section on our website, and the crib sheets that Dr. Bob referred to are available on that page for you to take a look at and download as well. We have several people ask for clarification on the difference between a full-time employee and a full-time equivalent employee.
Sure. So full-time or full-time equivalent employee only matters for one determination. That is determining your employer's size. Once we establish that, you can forget about full-time equivalent employees. Okay, so full-time employee, excuse me. Full-time employee is an employee who works an average of 30 hours per week, but it's calculated monthly, so 130 hours per month is a full-time employee. A full-time equivalent employee is total part-time hours
in a month
divided by 120. I know those two numbers are different, but that's because one was due to a statutory interpretation by the IRS, that's the 130-hour threshold, and the 120-hour threshold was put within the law and not subject to any interpretation. So a full-time equivalent employee is, let's say, 6 employees who work 5 hours a week every week for a month. Those 6 employees become one full-time equivalent employee. Mm-hmm. Now, you add, to determine whether you are large or small, you add your full-time employees in a month plus your full-time equivalent employees, those total monthly part-time hours divided by 120. And if that number is 50 or greater, you are large. If it's 49 or fewer, you are small. And if you are large, then you have to offer insurance only to full-time employees, not full-time equivalent employees.